Hello, everyone. Welcome to join our third Art Science Dialogues webinar. My name is Sisi Sun. I'm the head of Art Science at SwissNext China. I see quite some new names joining us today. So before we start, I'll give a brief introduction of our organization. SwissNext China is the initiative of the Swiss State Secretariat for Education, Research, and Innovation. We have a global network of 5 offices, 2 in the States, 1 in India, 1 in Brazil, and us in China. For the past 11 years, we have been actively connecting the dots between China and Switzerland in science, higher education, research, and innovation. The webinar today is part of our Art Science Dialogues, which we started in May and will take place once a month till August via Zoom. Through this series, we try to present artistic projects with very strong scientific and research background, and also introduce new initiatives from Switzerland. We had already covered the topics of design and material science, sonic arts, and neuroscience. And today, we're going to talk about photography and environmental ecology. We've invited 3 speakers for today's webinar, Laure-Emmanuelle Perret and Kladny, who are both the founders of Compáz Studio based in Neuchâtel, and Yining He, writer and creator on photography based in Tianjin. They will guide us through their works and practices in the field and also try to explore new possibilities by combining science, technology, and photography to bring to environmental revolution in the context of globalization. We will have a discussion and Q&A session after the 2 presentations. And for our audience, you may use the Q&A tab on the bottom to type in your questions. And we will try to answer the questions later. If you like, you may also leave your comments in the chat box. Okay, now let's welcome Laura and Lats for the first presentation.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lats.
Good morning. Good evening, maybe, for part of the world. I'm Laure.
Good. So we have a presentation for you that we will show you now. I will share my screen and we will describe a bit more of our work. So here we go. So maybe a few words about Compáz before we start presenting our specific work for this webinar. So Compáz has been founded 3 years ago together with Laure and our friend Rafael, who is not here to join us for this webinar. And the idea was to combine art and science, since Laure is coming from a very scientific background that she will describe just after my short introduction. And together with Rafael, we are running a design studio here, communication design studio here in Switzerland. And the 3 of us, we met together and we tried to find a way to explain art through emotion, science through emotion and art. That's our purpose in our Compáz Studio. So we always take a look at what technology can bring in our society. We are very optimistic in our approach, but we try to bring up projects that can have a positive impact in the society and transform this technology into a piece of art. So maybe Laure, you want to talk about this question?
Yes. So as Lats explained, so we try to combine in our project technology and art, and to understand how the artistic artworks can also help us to understand or to question our today's technology. And I have a scientific background. I'm a chemist, but I work also for 10 years in the photovoltaics in research institutes, where we developed a lot of technology, especially for transforming solar panels into building elements. So we have developed at EPFL and CSEM in Switzerland technologies that allows to modify the appearance of solar panels and adding colors to bring them in the building. And one question which is very interesting and that we worked in our project here is that today the solar technology is completely mature, and it's very efficient, it's very competitive today also on terms of cost of energy. But nevertheless, we see that the implementation of this technology in our society is very slow. So it's much slower here in Switzerland and in Europe than in China. And so this was one of the questions we had together at Compaz, was to try to understand how we can communicate differently about the solar technology, about the potential of this technology in our society, in order to also help the implementation of this technology, and that can contribute to our energy transition.
Yes, so if I may continue, so we have developed a concept that we called what is art. It's not a mistake as we spell it, what for the power of electricity, the measure of the electricity. And we had a lot of brainstorming about using the nature as an example, since we are working in a photovoltaic technology. We think that both nature and the photovoltaic technology are using the sun as the main source of energy. And we developed a particular piece of art that we called photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is a photography from our friend David Hartwell that lives in Pasadena in California. And we worked out this photography that represent, so it's a picture of a laurel in the morning. It's a one-time capture photography, so there is no photoshopping on this picture. And the idea here is to say that the plant and the flowers, they're taking the energy of the sun and they turn it into a new energy. This process is called photosynthesis, and is giving back, the plant is giving back energy in its environment. And we thought it was really interesting to mount a piece, this photography on a photovoltaic panel. That's where the advanced research of Laure and its team at the CSEM was very important, because they found a way to print somehow a high definition picture on photovoltaic technology. And these piece of art, they were sent to the thesis symposium last year that was held in Beijing in October, during the month of October, and was presented in two places, one in the National Museum of Beijing of China, and the other one, it was a twin sister piece of art that was installed in the streets of Beijing. And these both piece of art work together. The one outside was giving the energy to the one inside. So you can see that this piece of art is not only giving back a positive energy with its artistic approach, but is also giving back true energy with electricity. So maybe Laure, you want to explain a bit how this works?
Yes, I can give a more, let's say, technical insight into this artwork. So as you understood, so this artwork is a solar panel. In fact, it's a triptych, so it's 3 solar panels made with very standard technology based on crystalline silicon. And on this picture, you can see at the right that it is a solar panel as we are used to see. And the technology that we have developed allows to have this film, which is applied on the top of the solar cells, and where that you can also print, so we can have this nice image on it. And this film has a particularity to be transparent for a given wavelength of the light. So it means that the light is able to go through the film and the image and to reach the solar cells to produce electricity. And so this artwork is really interesting because it's a discussion by itself between the picture, which is this plant in this process of photosynthesis, but also the canvas on which this photography is printed is also active and producing energy. So by itself, they have function which are also similar. And it is what is very interesting and also inspiring, discovering also, allowing to discover also solar energy with a different angle. So here you can see these different stack of layers. You recognize the very standard solar panels at the back. And in addition, this very specific film, which has been developed during the last years in CSEM in Neuchâtel, which is applied on top to completely make disappear the solar cell. So when you have it in front of you, it's impossible to understand that you have solar cell and that it is active object. It is something that you understand when you see that, in fact, it's connected to the grid, and it is something you discover a bit in a second plan. The fact that the canvas is also doing its kind of photosynthesis, like the plants which is on the photography on the top of it.
So maybe what we want to explain here is that when we talk about photography and environmental ecology, it was very important for us to show that this technology can go in places where we could not imagine that the photovoltaic technology can go. And it means also that it's a very positive image for the future, that we can go and bring aesthetics in the billboard or on walls or in the building industry. So here we have two examples. The first one on the left is the same process that you can see was installed on an energy plant on the hills near the mountains here near Neuchâtel, in which you can see that we have a face coming up from the wall, just to mention that there is a piece of art and that produce energy. So one was about hiding or showing the possibility of getting in the environment in a very proper manner without being having a negative impact on a construction, on a design, or in an environment. And the second one was very spectacular. It's a very long piece, has almost 30 square meters, it's more than 20 meters long. It was installed in a very famous museum here in Neuchâtel on the lake shore. The project was called Immersion, and the museum is about prehistorical life that happened here on the shore of the lake of Neuchâtel 3,000 years ago. And we still have villages here that you can see here. These villages are 4 meters under the water. They are still preserved. So the environment has preserved this historical village that has around 3,500 years. And some scientists went to do photographic work to allow most of the people to admire these ancient village. And what is interesting is that this piece of art is producing enough energy to provide the museum, one of the main room of the museum with light and electricity. So there is a very interesting, I would say, circle here, where we can understand that this piece of art is contributing to the art that is shown in the museum in a permanent way. Since the museum is visited during the day, the lights and the energy that the light needs to be lit is provided by a very modern and very technological piece of art, and it's talking about very ancient history. So we think that these parallels are very interesting, and this piece was one of the first success of our vision of bringing science and art and photography together.
And perhaps I can add just something in the maybe a bit larger context also of why we have developed this technology. We are working also with Compaz in project where we try to bring the solar panel as a building element. So how can we make a roof of a building or a facade of a building which is active, so which is producing energy? And for that, it's very important that the architects and the building industry like this product and took them, and the aesthetic of this product is very important. So it's why all this development on colors and finding some textures are allowing to integrate it better architecturally in a building, a solar panel has been done. And because we were able to make even completely white solar panel, thanks to a technology which is now provided by a company called Solaccess in Switzerland, then we say, well, if we can do a white solar panel, it means in fact that we can do anything on the solar panels, and that the solar panels can be a building element, but it can be also an artwork, or it can inspire also other applications that this technology can bring in our cities and in our buildings. So this work we have done also with Compaz is a way to try to tell everyone maybe just the limit is not the technology, but is our imagination on how we can use this technology and how we can bring them at the benefits of our society.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry. Sorry, I have an echo in my computer. So yeah, this wouldn't be possible without a lot of help, and we wanted just to take the opportunity to thank most of the people, the state of Neuchâtel, the Swissnex, of course, that was a big support for us, the European Commission and the Swiss Confederation, and some private companies like the CSM or Solaccess that helped us very much into this process. So a big thank you. So, and we are now also we have a very active future, because in October we'll have 2 or 3 new projects continuing in this same process of exploring art and science for a better world. So thank you.
Thank you.
Here we are with our presentation. We'll be happy to answer any question that would come a bit later. And I think it's time for Yining to go through her work.
Okay, thank you, Laura and Lats, for your great presentation. I think your work has offered a new perspective on how the technology and art could be combined together and our life could be benefited. So now let's welcome our second speaker, Yining. She will share with us her new exhibition and also introduce 3 environmental projects from Sino-Swiss photographers. Yining, please.
Hello everyone. Thanks Cici for the invitation. So give me 1 second. Trying to show the presentation from here. Okay. And today, I think I'll give a brief introduction of like who I am and what I have been done over the last few months in putting this exhibition together with Prohivisia Shanghai office. So I'll quickly go through some basic information of what I'm doing recently. And I'm a writer and curator in like photography and visual culture over the last 5 to 8 years. And I've been doing a lot of exhibitions with museums and art museum and like photography festivals in China and Europe. And those are the exhibitions I've done over the last few years. And you can see it's ranging from like the historical narrative to the technology perspective in photography and visual culture. And also I've been writing articles and essays for different magazines and newspapers for a long time. And also I produced a couple of books and also translating English photography theory and history books into Chinese, like over last few years. And so today, I think I would love briefly introduce the exhibition that I've been working at the moment. And especially I have 3 artists' work that related to the topic today, which is photography and environmental ecology. The title of the exhibition is called the Between Mountains, Hills and Lakes. And this exhibition was initiated by Prohivisia Shanghai office. And we will showing the exhibition in 3 different venues in mainland China from the first week of August until the end of the year, which you can see is in Design Society Shenzhen, Modern Art Base in Shanghai, and also 3 Shadows Photography Center in Beijing. I know it's quite difficult because our like Swiss artists couldn't come to China because of this COVID-19, but we're trying as a curator based in China, I'm trying to continue this exhibition with the team together. And so this project comes from my previous curatorial visit to Switzerland. So by the time I visited many artist studio and come back with extended research on different perspective on contemporary Switzerland photography. In this case, this exhibition will examine artworks in photography and related media that explore the society and everyday base. And you can see from the title that we're using geography as a metaphor. So the exhibition not only aims to present Switzerland as a melting pot for diverse cultures and facilities, but also hopes to illustrate the uniqueness of contemporary Swiss photographic art. And we have the 9 projects featured in the exhibition comes from 7 leading photographers from Switzerland. And also we have 2 Chinese photographers who have completed their like artist residencies in Switzerland in recent years. The first project that I'm trying to show is from Chen Haishu, and he was born in Fuzhou, Fujian province in China, and now he works and lives in Berlin. And Haishu went to a 3-month artistic residency at Winterthur, where the famous like Winterthur Museum is based, photo museum is based. And during his residency, he trying to looking at water as a subject matter, exploring and experiencing the connection between water and local society. As we might know that the water is one of the most important nature resources in Switzerland, and the water reserve of Switzerland accounts for 6%, that in Europe, which means Switzerland is also called the water tower of Europe. As one of the elements that the Swiss are most proud of, water is a part of the landscape, a cultural image, but at the same time, also economic and political resource. And for this project, he used both to, he went to different landscapes and it took a photograph in the laboratories and also in different other places in Switzerland. So we can see in this exhibition, we're going to show some of the documentary photography that Chen Haishu have photographed in many laboratories and reservoirs and in other places in Switzerland. But at the same time, we're trying to make all this like two-dimension photograph alive. So on the left side, you can see like Haishu trying to bring all this microfoam into a one installation. He's still trying to build this new artwork, but we've been thinking like we want to show not only documentary photography, but also we're trying to transform all these images into other forms of art. And the next artist's work that I'm showing is from Zhu Lanqing, and she is a documentary photographer based in Xiamen, China. And in her artistic work, he likes to observe first, then to shoot photos in documentary way, and finally to combine them with different materials such as, you can see from like old photographs and maps. And by the end, she will use new forms of narrative to put the story together. For this project, the title is Yarnus on the Mountain. So she went to the artist residency program in Switzerland back in 2016. Over the 3 months, so she traveled to the mountaintop for many times, and she sees Alps not as a symbol of the wilderness, but as a conquered property for entertainment and consumerism. Her work explores the way human activities have been affecting the few pieces of postcards from the flea market, pictures of adventure heroes, and maps of complex information together with the landscape and portraits of the artist have built up a non-linear time journey. And this journey to the snow-capped mountain and the mountaintop begin with an old photo, like old postcards. So you can see from this image, she collected all this like tourism postcard in many different flea markets. Then she is trying to invite the audience to travel with him, to travel with her to visit the Alps together. And then she did a lot of portraits of the environment portraits on the top of this mountains. So, and also she been using the view from the CCTV, and by the end she's trying to bring things together to invite the audience to rethinking about the consumerism and environmental protection for Switzerland. And this is an exhibition she did at Three Shadows Photography Center 4 or 5 years ago. So you can see it's a long linear documentary project. And for this exhibition, I'm trying to show the mountain shape. So for the entrance of the Design Society exhibition, I asked the space designer to show the mountain shape background for Zhu Lanqing's work. and hopefully it will bring her work alive and leading the audience into the exhibition. And the last body of work that I'm trying to show is from Christoph Oschke. I met him last year at his studio in Zurich, and really interested in the way that he bring all these new technologies and photography together. And this project, the title of the project is called 2 Degree. So he is he's trying to explore the complexity relationship between climate politics and environmental protections with cutting-edge image technology. So, and also he has a very poetic, like photo essay. We want to include this photo essay in the exhibition so the audience will see how she think about the climate changing in Switzerland, and also how like political policies affected the whole idea of protecting the climate. And you can see from the right top is from it's from the melting glaciers. Like they have a lot of objects appeared from the like mountaintop, and he been using like 3D scanner technologies to help the audience to see how those objects looks like. And also from the right below, you can see he's trying to bring all these gestures from the politicians who attended some climate meetings, conferences, and then trying to talking about the complex relationship between the politics and environmental changes. And this is some previous installation of his work. And this is like 3D rendering of the objects that the goggle he found on top of the mountain. And this is a place like you can see all the sheets covering the mountaintop. So for this exhibition, we will include 3 of this work, but also we have another 6 works related to the Switzerland, related to the society and histories of Switzerland. And that's the end of my presentation. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Yining. I think it's also very interesting to see all these photographers' work. And now we will go into the discussion and Q&A session. So we will start from the discussion between the 2 speakers, and then we will pick up questions from the audience. So you may just type in your questions in the Q&A session so we can choose from there. Okay, so I guess when we were having this first meeting on this webinar, we had a discussion internally with Yining and Laure-Emmanuelle. So when we discuss environmental ecology in the art field, what are we talking about actually? And also what are the new possibilities that this combination of technology and photography could bring to the environmental revolution?
Perhaps I can start.
Yeah, so, sure.
Yeah, this is a very nice question, and it's absolutely great to see also the work on Yining, because it is something we are very convinced the ecological challenge we are facing now and the energetical transition that we need to activate now and not tomorrow is something that everyone knows in its mind. So we know that we are facing problem, and we know that we have technology also to solve this problem, but still we are not acting really as we should do. And perhaps it's also because of the way we are now discussing this problematic. It's really something which is very anxious, and being able to bring some artistic work, showing also how beautiful our world can be, the technology can be, is for sure a way to sensibilize also in a positive way, bringing also positive energy to really push everyone to act, to progress then also.
Thank you. Yining, would you like to add on your opinion?
Sorry, I missed the question.
It's more like the questions that we discussed during our meeting. So when we discuss environmental ecology in the art field, what are we talking about, and what new possibilities does this kind of combination of technology and photography could bring to the environmental revolution?
Yeah, I've seen few artists in China also. They're not artists, they're like someone who interested to bring art and this idea together. For example, some of my friends, the asking a different brand to recycling their clothes or other forms of materials back, and also the asking photographers to reuse all these recycled materials to produce a new work on top of that. So I think it's a new trend for the people in the industry to rethink, especially for the designers, or for example, like the fashion designers or the product designers, to rethinking about the technology and art. And this is already the trend. But in terms of artists living in the like contemporary society, so I'm happy to see like they can using all this idea to bring kind of environmental friendly materials and combine their art together. So this is what I've been thinking of, like especially over this like COVID-19 period of time, like whether we can use some like organic way of producing art, especially for photography. It's very not expensive, but also like you have, for example, if we're trying to produce a show, we have to print all the images and then we destroy them afterwards. This is also something like I've been thinking, if we can use some more organic or more like friendly, like eco-friendly materials and adapting to producing the work. That's something pop up in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think this could relate to our first art science dialogue, which is on new materials and design. I think, yeah, the new material is kind of key to the environmental revolution. Lads, would you do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would say one interesting part in this conversation is that photography at the very beginning and still today is a technology first. First, it was developed by engineers or people of science who allow us to capture or to witness what is around us. And this dimension of bringing together photography on technology and art. Also, we understand that photography allows us to witness our environment, but also allows us to develop art. And this ambiguity, or this very complex outcome that photography proposes is interesting, because we forget that behind these images there is also a technology. But we understand that this technology now is adopted by everyone. Everyone is able today to do pictures or photography. And it's very interesting to see how the photographers' artwork now is developing and is bringing now a new level of consciousness about our environment. And that's what we liked about this project, is that together at every step, there is always a technological dimension and an art dimension that is trying to bring the idea that our environment is important and to show it in an art piece and to raise consciousness with an emotional approach. That's what art does.
Thank you. So we see many questions are coming in from the audience. So shall we just pick the questions from the audience now?
Yeah.
So the first one is from Mei Yue Zhou. So this question goes for the first presentation. Would it be easy and affordable to replace the photos on top of the solar panel, and that would allow urban objects to change clothes every now and then?
Yes, exactly. This is exactly one application of this technology, is to be able to also make evolve the artwork. So we have a panel, a solar panel, which is here for a long time, and the lifetime of the solar panel is over 30 years. So it's not just for a few years, it's for many years. And on top of that, we add these images. And in fact, there are different technical solutions. We can have the images inside the panels, and then the images is not reversible, and it is the panel. So this will last for many years. But there is also the way of applying just on top of the panel the images, and then we can change the images very easily on site, like you do for advertisement on paper. So it's a bit similar technique, and it is affordable, yes.
Okay, I think there is another question also to Laura and Lance. So here I just read the question. I'm a painter and I also work with metals and stones. Meanwhile, a floral designer. The photosynthesis project is very interesting. Does the solar panels only work with a certain type of silicone film, or you are developing new ways through other materials?
The film that we have developed, including this photography, has been designed for silicon crystalline solar cells. So it has been designed in function of the wavelengths that the solar cell is using to produce electricity. But of course, we could have a similar technology for different type of solar technology not based on crystalline silicon, but we should have to adapt this film. But I'm not sure it will make too much sense in terms of energy, because crystalline silicon is today the technology that allows to have the more energy that you can get. So it's also, and it's a very common technology, so it makes sense also to use this one to add this kind of film, but of course it could be adapted to other technology, but maybe there will not be much benefits to use different technology.
Okay, I think there is another one. Could you please address your design philosophy for your projects?
Yeah.
I'll let Lance.
No, I thank you for this question. I think one of the mantra that most of design students learn when you get into the design education is to say that form follows function, right? So you design objects and you adapt them in an ergonomical way or in a way that this object can be used and to make its usage more comfortable or more efficient. And here, as we were explaining that this circle of and the role of this object is to provide an artistic emotion, which is an energy, So the form or the design of this object, of this art piece, is providing, the function is providing energy, but the energy is providing a function to the object. So now if we go one step further, it's not only that form follows function, but function follows form, that follows function, that follows, and that's what we call not the circular economy, but a circular piece of art. And our philosophy goes very much into this direction. And I think it's the same logic than we have with explaining how photography goes. It's also that the design of a camera follows the function of the camera, but the function now is adapting to the form. And this goes around and round, and that's what is behind this philosophy of form follows function follows form. It's a circular approach on art that is mixing together the photography itself and the canvas.
Thank you.
And the subject of the photography. Yeah.
Yes. So I think there is a question for all of you from Stephen Cho. How does art spearhead your concerns about the environment?
Again, maybe I can give our explanation is that when we talk about technology and science, at first science, when we are in the research stage, scientists talk to scientists. And for most of the people, it's not understandable. Then we go in a development stage with technology, and scientists need to talk with political or financial people, or to go industrial, because this technology is made, has a life cycle to make it avoidable for the people. And this step between adopting a technology or understanding, we believe that sometimes there is one step missing, is the emotional dimension of bringing a technology and explaining how the benefits of this technology. And again, I'm talking about, Laure was explaining that this technology about, for example, solar panels, it's very mature. Now the adoption starts in the world, but it's still a bit timid. And by bringing an emotional level on top of this technology, we believe that the adoption will be easier. We all love our smartphone, and we forget completely about the technology behind the smartphones, for example, because it's bringing emotion through content, through services, through all kinds of things where you forget the technology.
And Laura and Yining, would you like to add something from your side?
Like for me, very practical people, like very conscious about the environment protecting, and I'm like practicing like every single day. I'm using like this kind of environmental friendly materials, like over the daily practice. But at the same time, I think especially for photography, which is like Stephen Cho's work, who raised this question, like basically, I think photography project, especially for those documentary projects, enriched my understanding of the world around me. So for most of the time I'm visiting like festivals of arts, museums, all this work, it gives me different like emotions related to human beings and the environment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that, and personally also what art brings to me about my concern on environment. So I'm already very concerned about the environment, and I'm really committed in my work also to do my best for making this environment better. And being able to work with some artists and with Lats and Rafael from also Compáz, which are not from the technology field, make me even love better this solar technology, because it opens for me also a different look at the potential of this technology, which is not only technical and not only about providing energy, but is also about bringing emotion to everyone and inspiring. And so this is something which is very important. And for sure, without the artistic work around that, it will not, I will not understand in this way also, yes, our challenge about environment.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question for Yining from our attendee. So art and environmental photographies belong not only to galleries, educational advertisements, or textbooks. How do you think that Chinese artists could promote environmental awareness artworks into daily life in China? Yining, you have to please turn on your voice.
And here I would like to give two examples. Like one is from Wang Jiuliang. So he's the documentary photographer, but also like filmmaker who dedicated to documenting the trash in Beijing and in the suburban of Beijing for over 10 years. So by the time he did a lot of he made a lot of photograph, and then he switched to documentary film. And as soon as he published this this project and also the film, I think the local government changed the policies to protect, to somehow to change the way how we dump all the trashes, and to the work really did works, not only showing in the gallery for enjoying people, but also helping the local government to change the policy to protecting all this this pollution from the suburban of big inner cities. And also there's another work produced by Wu Guoyong. So he photographed a lot of dumped the bicycles you can see from many places in the city, like people using this shared bicycle, and they dump them in ring 4, ring 5 of Beijing. And actually he's trying to photograph of this of this kind of thing he encountered in different places of the city, which already raised the question of whether this kind of new technology, shared bicycle, really helped us to save energy, or is on the other hand, it's costs a lot of energy at the same time. So I do think, especially for photography, it's very strong. It's a quite strong vehicle trying to enrich our understanding between environment protection and our lives. Hope I can answer this question.
Yeah, thanks. So we have another question to Laure. How about the recyclability of photofilm particles of the photosolar panel?
So the solar panels itself is recyclable, and we just recover the glass and the solar cells and the connectic, but the photography that we integrate is not recoverable. So then when we want to change the images, the photography is destroy. So today we are not able to keep the photography. It has a, yes, it disappears when we remove it.
Okay.
But it's a polymer substrate, and this polymer substrate is not really recyclable.
Okay. So I think we will take last question. This is actually also from our discussion previously. As a team of artists and scientists, how do you think about the current relationship between humans and technology?
I don't have any reply to that, but what I can say is how it is important today, and it is our responsibility as a researcher, but as any citizens to question this, to question the technology we have today. There are many technologies which are great for our society. We absolutely need them, but sometimes there are technology where it's important to ask if they are really necessary, and if they are, for what kind of society and what kind of society we want to build for tomorrow. And this is also what we like in Compaz, and was also the goal of Compaz, is to have a place where we can question that freely, without any without being afraid of perhaps having sometimes a reply, less technology would be better. But it is our responsibility to not be overloaded by the technology, but to decide if we want it or not, and if we want it for whom, how, and for what we are doing with that. Is it to progress, or is it not really necessary? So this is my opinion.
Thank you. And Lance, would you like to add something?
I would add just to have a rebound on this last word that Laure was using, and I think progress in general is a very interesting question, and we are in our society these last 20 years, we are mixing up two words, that is progress and growth, and we do a lot of growth using technology by all the means, and this growth is somehow also destroying a part of our planet. So I think the questioning about the technology, having time to just go around the problem and defining the relationship between human and technology is very important, since technology is coming out from the human. So we have a responsibility on this technology. And I think art can contribute not to give answers, but to open questions. And more people are trying to address these questions, I think the better we probably will have a relationship to technology. Because in technology, there is good and bad. And the definition as good is very hard to tell. I have my opinion, but maybe you have another one, and we have to confront our opinion, and that's what art does.
Thank you. I think this summarized well for this webinar, and we are reaching our time today. I think for me, photography is not only presenting these problems or images of environmental problems, but as what you did with your projects, this could also be as an aesthetic part of technology, that we can push technology to a more popular level, that we could employ it in our life, in our daily life. So I'd like to thank you for your presentations and also the great discussion. And also thanks to all our audience to stay with us in this evening. And we will send out a follow-up note tomorrow to all of our audience. So you may receive the link to this recorded webinar and also the presentation slides. And if you still have any questions, please feel free to write to us at artscience@swissnextchina.org. And also please follow us on our social media channels to receive our updates on our events. And we hope to see you again in our next event. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cici, for this special moment. And thank you to everyone for the question and for attending and listening to this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.